Basic matrix operations. Here we have 6 different matrices. You talk about the dimensions of the matrix in terms of the number of rows and number of columns it has. And you say the dimensions with rows first and columns second. So this matrix has 2 rows and 2 columns, so it's a 2 by 2 matrix. This is also a 2 by 2 matrix. This matrix here has 1, 2, 3 columns and 1 row. You always write it rows by column, so this is a 1 by 3 matrix. This, however, has 3 rows and 1 column, so it is a 3 by 1 matrix. Now you can only add 2 matrices that are the same size, that have exactly the same dimensions. So I could add matrix A and matrix B, and I could add matrix C and matrix D. I could not add E and F, because this is a 1 by 3 and this is a 3 by 1. I could only add a 1 by 3 to another 1 by 3. I also could not add matrix B to matrix D because they are different sizes. The same is true with subtraction. Multiplication is a little different, and we'll look at that in just a second. So let's figure out what 2A plus B is. So I want to figure out what 2A plus B is. When I multiply a matrix by a number, that's very easy. I just multiply everything in the matrix by that number. So 2A is 2 times negative 2, 7, 5, 0, plus B is 1, 3, 0, negative 2. So I multiply everything in this by 2. So I get negative 4, 14, 10, 0, plus 1, 3, 0, negative 2. And then when you add 2 matrices, you just add them together position by position. So I add negative 4 and 1, and I get negative 3. 14 plus 3 is 17. 10 plus 0 is 10. 0 plus negative 2 is negative 2. And that's 2A plus B. Now if I want to look at C minus D, I can do that as well. So C minus D, let's see. Okay, so now I want to do C minus D. So I take matrix C, which is 1, 0, 3, 2, 5, 6, negative 1, 1, 1, and I subtract from that D, which is 2, 3, 1, 0, 4, 1, negative 2, 1, negative 1. And I just subtract position by position. So 1 minus 2 is negative 1, 0 minus 3 is negative 3, 3 minus 1 is 2, 2 minus 0 is 2, 5 minus 4 is 1, 6 minus 1 is 5, 1 minus 2 is negative 1, 1 minus 1 is 0, and 1 minus negative 1 is 2. And so subtracting is just like addition, you just do it. Okay, now let's take a look at some other operations. Let's see if we can figure out what F times C is. Does F times C, can we even do that? So F times C. To figure out if we can do F times C, I write the dimensions of F here. F is a 3 by 1. C is a 3 by 3. Now, in order to be able to multiply F by C, these two numbers have to be the same. And in this instance, these two numbers are not the same, and so I can't multiply those. You cannot multiply F times C because those two numbers are not the same. Well, could I multiply C times F? Let's take a look at that. C times F. C is a 3 by 3 matrix. F is a 3 by 1 matrix. These two numbers are the same. That means I can multiply these two matrices together, and my answer will be a matrix with dimensions 3 by 1. Now when you multiply a matrix, you multiply rows times columns. So we'll see how that works. Here's C. It's 1, 0, 3, 2, 5, 6, negative 1, 1, 1. F is 3, negative 2, 1. Now my answer, I know, is going to be a 3 by 1 matrix. When you multiply matrices together, you multiply a row times a column. So here I take the first row times the first column. Now when I say multiply a row by a column, I multiply each thing in this row by each thing in this column, piece by piece. So I take 1 times 3, so the first one times the first one, plus 0 times negative 2, plus 3 times 1. So I multiplied the first row times the first column, and in my answer matrix, that's going to go in the position in the first row, first column position. Now I'll take the second row times the first column. I get 2 times 3 plus 5 times negative 2 plus 0 times 1. I took this row times this column. Now I'll take the last row times this column. I get negative 1 times 3 plus 1 times negative 2 plus 1 times 1. And I get 1 times 3 is 3 plus 0 plus 3 is 6. That's 6 plus negative 10 is negative 4. Did I do that right? Let's see, this row, yeah. And then the last one, negative 3 plus negative 2 is negative 5, plus 1 is negative 4. And so here's my answer, 6, negative 4, negative 4. Okay, let's do another matrix multiplication. Here I'm going to have a 2 by 3 matrix, and so that'll be 2 rows, 3 columns. So I'll put 1, 2, 3, negative 1, 0, negative 2, 2 by 3, and I'm going to multiply that by a 3 by 3 matrix. So 1, 1, 0, 2, 2, 2, negative 1, 0, 1. Now I'm going to multiply these two matrices together. I can do so because these two numbers are the same, and my answer will be a matrix of dimensions 2 by 3. Now when I multiply a matrix, I multiply a row times a column. So first row, first column. So row 1, column 1 will be 1 times 1 plus 2 times 2 plus 3 times negative 1. Row times column. So now I'll do row 2, column 1. So row 2, column 1 will be negative 1 times 0 plus, negative 1 times 1, so that one times that one, plus 0 times 2, plus negative 2 times negative 1. Okay, now I'll do row 1 times column 2. So row 1, column 2 will equal 1 times 1, so 1 times 1, plus 2 times 2, plus 3 times 0. Now I'll do row 2, column 2. So row 2, column 2 will be negative 1 times 1, plus 0 times 2, plus negative 2 times 0. Now I still have my third column to deal with. So row 1 times column 3 will be 1 times 0 plus 2 times 2 plus 3 times 1. And then row 2, column 3 will be negative 1 times 0 plus 0 times 2 plus negative 2 times 1, which will be, let's see, so row 1, column 1 now, that's 1 plus 4 is 5, plus negative 3 is 2. That's negative 1 plus 2 is 1. That's 1 plus 4 is 5. That's negative 1 plus 0 is 0. Is that row 2, column 2? And then this one is 0 plus 4 is 4 plus 3 is 7. And this last one is negative 2. I would be very surprised if I didn't make some mistakes in there. My answer needs to be a 2 by 3 matrix. In row 1, column 1, I have 2. In row 2, column 1, row 2, column 1, I have 1. In row 1, column 2, so row 1, column 2, I have 5. In row 2, column 2, I have 1. In row 1, column 3, I have 7. Here's row 1, here's column 3. In row 2, column 3, I have negative 2. And you couldn't see those answers because they aren't on the screen, so let me write them up here. It's 2, 5, 7, 1, 1, negative 2. So that's what my answer is.